Now, exactly. The monarchy make so much money for the UK. So I'm not for or against. There's pros and cons to the monarchy. However, when you see those statistics that you just pointed out and those points, I don't see how they can't pay for events like the coronation when they make that much money. It just doesn't really add up. It's a bit like your mate having 50 quid in his pocket and you having £2 and him going, "Can you buy me these sweets?" When you've got £2 and he's got 50 quid and you're thinking, well, those sweets are for you. Those £2 sweets are for you. Why shouldn't you buy them? You've got 50 quid. It doesn't really make sense. Now that friend can come along, like the money can go along and say, well, to be honest, it's for the people's benefit. It's for my benefit. I'll give you some sweet. I'll give you some sweets from that packet that you buy for me. However, I still don't really understand how, if you have that much money, why you can't buy it yourself, or why can't you pay for it yourself? It doesn't make me, unless I've got some facts or some rules or laws mixed up, then I might have. However, I haven't seen anything so far, so I don't really understand why the people and the taxpayers are paying for events like this when they make so much money that they could just pay for it. I'm not sure, but that's my belief is. Now, those are some great points. Those are some great points about how the country's going and why, and the people that we need to really be looking at when it comes to what's wrong with the country. You know, these rich people, the rich and the people who are taking advantage of the working class and the middle class. However, I'm not sure that it's entirely in the interest of reform for that to be part of their policies. The fact is that Nigel Farage and those MPs around him are very rich. They have a lot of money. They have shareholders and they have shares. And they have, I mean, look at Nigel Farage, for example. He gets so much money from GB News, for example. He gets loads of it. So when I see the comments of what you said, which is good, it's correct. However, I don't think it actually correlates with reform. So I'm not saying I disagree with reform policies or I agree with them. I am just saying I don't think what I'm saying correlates really with reform when it comes to how the rich and these corrupt politicians are actually changing the country for the worse. I'm not saying reform are part of the problem. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm not sure you can really I'm not really sure you can see reform being part of that. Say, I would never see reform cut MPs' wages or cut it so that, say, for example, there's a good idea about how instead of cutting MPs' wages, they only have one job, and so that they don't actually have multiple sources of income, and they just focus on the job at hand, which is the most important, which is people's lives. So I'm not sure if I can say reform are entirely in the interest of those points you've made, or the points I've made, really, to be honest. Yeah, that's a good point about if it's a very important job and it needs the best people, do increase the salary so people go for that. However, a high earning salary if it's say, for example, you get like a doctor or a surgeon, people like that requires hard skill. That is a very hard skill. To be an MP and to be someone in politics, yes, you can say you need a politics background or you need a degree in it. But realistically, you just need your voice. You need good points that people will listen to. Now, the problem is that people may see that, and if they say you increase it, say you put it plus 93, say you put it to something ridiculous like, I don't know, 120k. Well, some people don't think that's ridiculous, but you put it to 120k, right? That's 120k a year for that person. That is quite a nice salary to just use your voice and to do what an MP does. So some people may come into it to basically just use it as just for money, basically, and that's what you don't want to trade. You need a nice median. You don't want it so low that people don't see it as a viable option for a career, but you don't want to see it as something that people who only want money go into. So I feel increasing it realistically with every other job, that's correct. However, when it comes to politics, I feel because it's something easy to go into, well, not easy to go into, but it doesn't require a degree or doesn't require a level of experience. You just need to persuade people to vote for you, quite frankly. You can just, you can just go in for it for the money, technically. And that's what some people do. There have been politicians in the past who have just gone in for the money because it's so good. So putting it up, I can see the point definitely, but I'm not sure when it comes to politics that that is a viable option due to the fact you will, um, it will increase people who may just be in it for the money, which isn't good for the country at all.
No, that's a great point about lobbyists. It's a great point when it comes to if we cut down MPs' wages. However, I feel when it comes to America and the USA, that that would be a problem definitely because lobbyists over there, that is a problem. However, in the UK, I feel we have tight enough laws and rules for it not to be a problem per se. However, if it is a concern, I personally I would like the salary to be 60. But then if there's a fear of lobbyists, then and that is a good point, then I could be happy with 75k. That seems good enough and doesn't seem that's only trying to do my trying to do the math, 15k less, roughly 15k less than they get. That seems fair enough. That doesn't seem to make a problem for doesn't seem to make a problem for the UK when it comes to lobbyists. So yeah, no, I do see the point about lobbyists. It's a good point. I just feel we need to turn it down. It can't be 93k. I think that's ridiculous. So I think put it down. As I say, I'd rather it be 60 or 50, something like that. But if it's a fear of lobbyists, then I think a lot of people could settle for 75k, 70, if need be 80. But it can't be nearer to 100k. Just it it isn't practical. As well as you can always revert it. You don't if there was a if say for example we did cut the MP's wage down to 60 and there was a massive increase in lobbyists, which are bad and good. It's not lobbyists aren't always bad, but there is that stereotype that they are. Um, then we can actually just revert it, put it higher, as I say. If it goes down to 60, we can put it down, we can put it up to 75 and 80, and then see if the lobbyists go, and they probably would do if you put it higher. So yeah, that's where I'm coming from. But it is a good point to come across with lobbyists and cutting down MPs' wages.